Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to give my review of Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. This one finished a little while ago at 17 volumes, released by Kodansha. Um, I've been collecting this one since volume 1, and yeah, I have not done a full reread of the series yet. I did, I've obviously read it through once as I've been getting the volumes, and then I did a reread, I think, when I had like 6 volumes or so, where I just, at the time that 6 volumes were out, I just reread the first 6 because I was in the mood to. But I've yet to do a full reread of the series, so, that might change some of my feelings on it and some of my memory of it because obviously it's been a long time since I've read the first part of the series um, because I was reading them as they were being released. This, I believe, is Oshimi's longest running series. Most of his stuff is like 12 volumes or under, and he also has had a lot of one shots as well. But yeah, this one really, really, I think, kind of, at least um, in the English market, kind of catapulted him to even more fame than he already had. That and Happiness, I guess, but this one really I heard so many people talking about because I think this one, as dark as it is, I think is a little bit more palatable for people because um, while it does focus on a very, very inappropriate and uncomfortable relationship, an abusive relationship between a mother and a son, um, it is obvious to the reader and to anybody who is, involved in the characters, it is obvious to everybody that the relationship is inappropriate versus a lot of Oshimi's series focusing on teenagers who are exploring sexuality in various ways and like sexual awakening and um, kind of the perverse nature of humanity, but through the experiences of teenagers, I think a lot of people are like, not for me. Um, Versus this one is very clearly just like it's about abuse, it's about um, trauma and all that kind of stuff. And I think that it's a little bit more relatable to people who are, while this is still uncomfortable and has a lot of the themes that his other series have, I think this one is more kind of chilling and more like horror esque, like Happiness as well. That I think the Happiness and Blood on the Tracks are a bit more palatable to the masses than something like Flowers of Evil or Welcome Back Alice, um, or some of his other one-shot series, all of which I love, by the way. Oshimi is one of my favorite creators, and I will continue to buy anything I can get my hands on by him. Um, and yeah, so this one follows, as I've already said, Seiichi, who is a young boy. He's in middle school, and he he's like 11 or 12 years old or so, and his mother, who is extremely mentally ill, um, and always has been clearly, but it follows the inappropriate relationship that she has with her son, and we follow him and his kind of, we see flashbacks, we see um, him in the present day and how her behavior impacts him on a daily basis. Uh, so this series does contain um, some incestuous kind of moments. Nothing extremely, extremely explicit in that way, but it's definitely bordering on, that sort of thing. And then also just like verbal and physical abuse, um, and psychological abuse, certainly. And so we're basically watching Seiji kind of battle this on his own. His father is in the picture. He lives in the house with them, but for some reason doesn't seem to notice how unwell his wife is, um, or doesn't seem to want to notice, I guess. And so volume one starts off with a bang. There is a huge event that takes place in volume one that then sets the course for the rest of the series. Um, and we watch the unraveling mental state of Seiichi, and then the continuous unraveling of his mother, um, and then their kind of trying relationship throughout his young life, and then, as with pretty much every Oshimi series, there's a time skip, and then into his adulthood. Um, so the first 12 volumes, I guess, as you can see based on the shift in the of the blue volumes at the back there, I believe the first 12 are the ones that follow him when he's still in middle school, and then the time skip happens with volume 13. Um, the I would say the first part is significantly better in my opinion. I think that um, I often find with Oshimi's time skips that I really do enjoy what the second part is doing. This one I felt was a little bit lacking when the time skip happened, personally. Though again, I think I need to reread the series to really feel it. Whereas, because like by the end of it, there I was just waiting for the volume to come out, kind of thing, and then reading it as soon as I got it, and then waiting and waiting and waiting. Um, and the because most of his series, this one included, the first part of the series as the young person, the big events happen, the climax kind of happens, and then you're just kind of, you know, uh, following this kid dealing with something, and then the time skip happens, and then it's kind of the fallout, the follow through, I guess, on okay, so this kid was very troubled, is full of traumatic experiences, made a lot of mistakes himself, and now as an adult, how is he living and carrying on, shouldering all the mistakes of his youth and the ones that were out of his control as well. Um, and so, yeah, I just felt like, I mean, 12 volumes is a lot for the kind of original climax of the story. And then for 5 volumes to kind of try and wrap that all up, it felt a little rushed. But that being said, this is an incredible series. It is really, really stunningly drawn, as with all of his more recent works. His art is incredible. His ability to portray um, discomfort or anxiety or fear, like all of any, well, any emotion really, he is incredible at that, um, through his artwork. Um, and This is definitely, it's a heartbreaking series, it's a really uncomfortable series, it's a um scary, like psychologically twisted and creepy, I guess, is the not necessarily scary but creepy. You get like a feeling in your stomach while you're reading it, and you just don't know what's going to happen, and you feel like it's like when you're watching a really scary movie and you're waiting for the jump scare. um, it's you just, this uneasiness the whole time you're reading it, going, when's the ball going to drop here? Because volume one like packs such a punch that you're like, surely it can't get worse than this. um, but it like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, like clenching your fists, just waiting for something horrible to happen, um, because it starts off so horrible. And yeah, this is, it's very gripping. And Oshimi's works have or his more recent ones, some of his older ones have a lot of dialogue, but for the most part, his stuff doesn't have a lot of dialogue. And so it's really the art that portrays the story and or carries the story. And these are so quick to read, um, that like you could bang this out in a day, easy. Um, all 17 volumes. I mean, maybe I wouldn't recommend that; it'd be quite dark. But like, you know, physically, um, reading these 17 volumes would not take that much time. Um, so yeah, it's a incredible psychological thriller, and I really am excited now to reread it because, um, Yeah, I would say this one, I mean, Happiness is pretty gruesome. It's obviously a horror because it follows vampires. Um, all of his series have a bit of an undertone of creepiness, not necessarily creepiness, but like discomfort to them, or like a psychological nature to them. Um, but this one certainly is extremely unsettling. Because at least with Happiness, you're like, well, they're vampires, and there's a lot of gore, and there's a lot of blood, and there's a lot of creepiness going on. But like this is like just at its core mental illness, severe mental illness that has gone undiagnosed and untreated, um, and the ripple effect that it has on loved ones and just everybody in your orbit. This really, really captures that. And it is scary and it is upsetting and it is, um, you know, sad. And I think that this series just really captures all those emotions. And you think, like, okay, this boy is, he has like 30 classmates, right? And none of them know what's going on. His teachers don't know what's going on. Everybody around him has no idea the weight he's carrying of his mother's mental state. And you just, like, it really makes you think, like, you don't know what anybody's going through. And to watch him unravel, and you just are thinking, like, it's like, why won't someone help you? um, it's very upsetting. uh, and yeah, Oshimi just captures all that so incredibly. um, So all of this to say, I definitely recommend picking this up. The other thing too is a lot of these are quite long. Like some of these volumes are like 250 pages, so they're not all just like 180-page volumes. And because they're just soft cover, um, generic size soft covers by, well, it was originally started with Vertical, obviously owned by Kodansha, but the yeah, like the price point, 1750 Canadian. It's kind of standard for a single volume at this point, but like I said, these ones, some of them are quite long, and thick, so it is actually quite a good deal for them, when you think about it, uh, because at least they're not overpriced, uh, higher than what a kind of standard volume is going for at this point. So yeah, there's a lot of content here, but like I said, it doesn't take that long to read because his stuff doesn't have a lot of writing in it in general. But anyway, I'm sure most people have already heard of this or read it, but if for whatever reason you haven't and any of this sounded interesting to you, I do recommend picking it up. I think that if you are not hooked by that first volume, there's no point in picking any more of it up because you're not going to be hooked after that. But I would be shocked if you thought this might be interesting and then that first volume didn't hook you, um, to want to know what's going to happen next. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching.